If you're running Meta ads and getting tons of clicks but no leads, it's because ads need to accomplish two things. They need to get attention and get viewers interested enough to act now. And it turns out that most businesses only get half of this equation correct. Now, I know this works because I have personally tested thousands of ads for our clients at our agency. And what I've found is that there is actually 3 things that you must get right with every single ad campaign that you've ever run. So in this video, I'm gonna break down what those 3 things are and the psychology and the science behind why those actually work. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Hunter Larson. All I do every single day is run an advertising agency where I help my clients scale their businesses to over $10 million a year. And in 2025, we helped to generate nearly $11 million for our clients by doing exactly what we're gonna be talking about today. All right, so up first, we need to understand that attention does not equal agreement with somebody who sees your ad. So what I mean by this is when it comes to ads, clicks tell us only one thing. It tells us that our ad creative is good at getting clicks. But if you aren't seeing leads come through or sales or signups for your webinar, then you know that your messaging is off and all you have is a flashy ad driving tons of clicks, but not actually converting. So in this video, we're going to be fixing that. So the best ads in the world do 2 things very, very well. Number 1, they obviously get attention. That's like step 1, right? You got to have them seen. But the next thing they do is they connect with your prospect on a deeper level. So they go beyond just, hey, here's your problem, here's how we solve it. And they actually talk directly to the heart of your prospect. Because what truly gets people to buy and become a lead, and where you start to see ROAS numbers go 4, 5, 6, 10 plus X, is when the prospect that sees an ad feels like you are talking directly to them. You can think of it like reading their mind. Now, this sounds complicated, but it's actually very simple to do. So here at my agency, Review Media, we use a process that we do for every single client on a monthly basis. So that way we can actually get underneath the surface and actually read the mind of our clients' prospects. And here's the thing, we work with businesses in all different industries. So this works whether you're a contractor, an online coach, a software company, or an agency just like myself. Okay, so first things first, I wanna make it very, very clear that a document where you have the demographics of your audience is nowhere close to enough when it comes to actually having marketing that produces a positive return for your company. So what I mean by that, if your document says that your ideal client is typically between the ages of 40 and 60 years old, they're male, and they live in the United States, well, think about that for a second. There are literally millions of people in the US that could fall in that range, right? And the problem is, because of that, there's going to be a wide variety of life circumstances in that demographic pool that you've just outlined. So we need to go deeper. So here's how you do that. So the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna break your avatar up into 3 buckets. So bucket 1, we have their beliefs about their world, right? So what they believe to be true about the world. Number 2, we have their current problem. And number 3, we have their desired state. Where do they want to go? Okay, so here's how you uncover number 1. Okay, so let's break down number 1, which is their belief about the world. Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard this before. Everyone talks about, well, you need to know what the prospect believes so that way you can meet them where they're at. But I'm gonna take a guess here that you've probably never seen anybody actually tell you exactly how to uncover the beliefs that your prospects have about the world. So this is a very simple process. It's very important, it's very time consuming, but I promise you it will be worth it, and you will be so freaking amazed when you get this right. Your prospects will be showing up to calls going, I mean, you're the obvious choice. Look, you know everything about me. So take the time, okay? The first thing that we're gonna do though is literally just sit down with a pen and paper, kind of like I'm doing here, and we're just gonna start to write down everything that we believe our prospect believes about the world. Okay, so to give you an example. So in our agency, a lot of companies have worked with lots of agencies. So our prospects have worked with lots of agencies. Now, typically what happens is our prospects come to us, they say, I've worked with 5, 10, 15 plus agencies. They all promise me the world none of them got me any results. And so what happens is they start to believe, because of this experience, this life experience, so their belief is agencies, so the belief, agencies don't get results. So that's what we find 9 times out of 10, our prospects will believe to that in some capacity, right? Depending on how many times they've been burned. So that's just one example. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna literally just start listing out everything that we think our prospects believe until you hit a wall. What will happen eventually, you won't be able to come up with another idea. You'll be like, I think that's everything. Likely it is not. So what you're gonna do at this point is you're gonna go and you're gonna turn to Reddit, online forums, YouTube videos, Google, literally just blogs. Go anywhere where your ideal client hangs out online, okay? And what we're gonna start to do is we're just gonna start to copy and paste different things that people are saying online. So to give you an example, I found a few things here on Reddit that I'll read off to you. So I got my laptop right here. So these are real Reddit comments that people have left on Reddit, and I am gonna show them to you so that way you can actually see like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, right? Because I think if you're doing this for the first time, this can be kind of tricky. So for an advertising agency like ours, one thing that I see all the time is, well, the fault isn't mine, it's Meta, right? They blame the platform sometimes. Another one is people ask, is hiring a digital advertising agency actually worth it in 2026, right? So a lot of people think, well, now that AI is out there, I don't need an advertising agency. I'll just do it all myself, right? So that's another belief that people might have. A lot of our clients are like high ticket roofing and high ticket HVAC. So for a roofer, right on Reddit here, why are roofers so sketchy? We're an HVAC company. Are there any good, honest, and trustworthy HVAC companies in my area? So as you can see, all of those questions stemmed from a belief that these people had about the world that led them to ask that question in the first place. Now, obviously, for free, I am not going to break down each one of those. Obviously, you get the gist. You understand, okay, the prospect has worked with lots of agencies, been burned. Okay, agencies don't get results. That's their belief. So you're going to do that, and you're probably going to have a pretty substantial list, probably like 50 to 100 different things that your prospects can believe. And then at that point, you just need to go through them and figure out, okay, what are the most common beliefs that my prospects hold? And that can come from your sales data, right? Your sales calls, looking at like, okay, what are the most common objections that hold back a sale, right? And that's how you can start to get that data, okay? Now moving on to number 2, we have their problems. So number 2, we have their problems. Okay, so put simply, their real problem is rarely, if ever, the problem that they think they have. So in the example that we have here, typically the problem that they have is agencies get bad results. So their problem is they think the problem is, so they think agencies suck, right? So that's their problem. So they get bad results, which leads them to believe that agencies suck. But what the real problem is, agencies don't suck. It's just that there's a lot of really bad ones out there. And typically in agencies, the most common thing that I see with our clients and prospects is they worked with an agency that was really big, right? And what happens with huge agencies is the person signs a check, they sign the check to start working with the agency. The senior marketer starts working on their account because they want to show the client gets really great results. And then, 2-3 months in, their account gets passed off to a junior advertiser who's learned marketing on TikTok and YouTube, doesn't have the real world experience that the senior marketer has, and then results suck, right? So then it's just this constant cycle of hiring agency, get good results, bad results, fire, hire agency, got good results, then get bad results. And so at our agency, well, we don't do that, right? We cap our roster of clients to just 10, so that way we can make sure that there's a senior marketer always attending to every single account, right? Because they're never gonna be maxed out with bandwidth. They can give most of their attention to our client's account. Now, the reason that we need to understand, okay, this is what they think their problem is, and this is what their actual problem is in our ads, in our funnels, what we need to do is we need to say, hey, agencies suck, right? Boom, now we hit them where they're at. And then we say, through a reframe or convicted statements, we say, the reason that you think agencies suck is you get passed off to a junior marketer, like I just went through, right? that is how we can start to get them to see us as a different company, right? And you're gonna have to do that for your own, but obviously if you wanna pay our agency, we'll help you do that and we'll do all the marketing for you. So click the link in the description if you wanna work with us to help you do that. Okay, cool. Now moving on to number 3, we have the dream state. Okay, cool. So this is very easy to understand, but extremely difficult to get right. Because what we need to do is we need to think about what the prospect actually wants. And we can boil that down to 3 things, okay? So what we have here is we have the massive life goal, okay? We have our like midterm goal, and then we have our teeny tiny goal. Okay, so to break this down, so the massive life goal is, this is what they're trying to achieve in their entire life, right? So for example, a lot of our clients, they're trying to get rich and then sell a company for a 10x multiple, so that way they can retire by 40 and go live on a beach, right? Or whatever, right? The midterm goal though is, well, we want to get a paid acquisition strategy that prints money for our company. Right? So that's their midterm goal. That's like, okay, as long as if I can get my acquisition right, then I can get the company growing and then I can sell it for a higher multiple because it's got, consistent acquisition. Now their teeny tiny goal could be, well, my ad creative doesn't resonate with our audience, so then the ads aren't profitable. So if we fix the ad creative, then they're like, okay, then maybe we'll make more money with our ads, okay? So by knowing that, then what we can do is we can write ads that say, hey, let's make your ads profitable so that way you can sell for a 10x multiple. Right, so now we're speaking to their dream state as well. So we have, if we kind of go back here, we have their belief, right? So what do they believe about the world? We need to meet them where they're at in the ad. Okay, so we know, okay, they think agencies don't get results. Well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is that agencies get bad results. So they think agencies suck, so their problem, that's what they think. But we know that the real problem is they get passed down to junior marketers. So we can talk about that. And then we say, by the way, if you do this right, your ads are gonna make so much more money because we have amazing ad creative that engages your audience, so that way you can sell your company for a 100x multiple or 10x multiple. As you can see, all of a sudden we've taken a generic ad to something that's just like so resonant to our ideal client, and that's why this is getting this right is so important. So if you get all 3 of these right, you are gonna see massive improvements with the amount of resonance that you actually have with your prospects. Okay, so up next, we need to talk about why your funnel leaks qualified leads. Okay, so bear with me. I have a kind of an unusual analogy here, but at my agency, we call this the life raft. What we can kind of think about this is, let me just draw a little thing here. So over here, we have the mainland, right? So this is gonna be the place that the prospect wants to go, right? And then in between this, there's a big ocean, and then we have our prospect on their little tiny island. Okay, so this is our prospect. And they're just on this little tiny island in the middle of the ocean, okay? And they're trying to go here. So they want to get to the dream state, okay? Now, what we do is we call it a life raft, okay? So in this water here, we have our little boat, okay, a little life raft. Now, what we can think of, right now, you can think of it as your prospect is looking this way, right? He's looking away from the life raft. He's not paying attention. He's just like, I'm on this island. I don't want to be on this island, but I don't know how to get across the island. The ad transitions your prospect to look at the life raft. So it looks at it, right? So we just want them to be aware of your company, right? The life raft is what you sell, by the way, make that clear. So the ad is like, okay, hey, look at this life raft. Like, we can get you to where you want to go. Then we take them to the the landing page, the lead form, the webinar, and that's what gets them into the life raft. So what that does is it says, and this is all assuming that we have these other 3 points up here correct, right? As long as you have those 3 points correct, now we can get them into the life raft. From there, we have a sales rep, all right? So we have a sales rep. And you can think of this as the captain, okay? So the captain, his job is once the prospect is in the life raft, right? Agreeing to attend a sales call, join a webinar, the captain's job is to personalize the experience for the prospect so that way they trust the captain enough to say, yeah, I think you can take me from where I'm at here in this boat over to the mainland. So the reason that personalization is so important here is because nobody cares what you have to sell unless they truly, deeply in the depths of their heart, think that you truly get them and know where they want to go, right? So the idea is the boat is like the vehicle of like, yeah, hey, look, this is where I want to go. I can see that you get it. The salesperson's job is to say, okay, I can see that you want to get there, and here's how our service does that specifically for you, right? So now we're going away from just like, we're not only reading your mind, but we also know your goals better than you do. We're going to be the person to take you there. Now, if you get this wrong, this is what causes funnels to be confusing or non-resonant, right? And it doesn't take a lot for that to happen. So just keep that in mind, where this life raft is very easy to get wrong, but when you get it right, you'll have prospects lining up outside of your company to buy from you. Okay, so now that we have the life raft example here of, okay, as long as we have personalization, we're reading their mind, we're getting them to look at the life raft, right? That's kind of your funnel imagined. Now let's use a real example. So we have a client that's a high-end photography company. Okay, so they're high-end photography for real estate agents. So for real estate. All right, so let's break down really simply their avatar. Obviously, there's more to it than just these that we're going to go through. But let's just assume here that their belief is, so they believe that high-end photos are important, and likely they believe that their current photographer, is good. Okay, so that's what they believe about the world. They know that high-end photos are important, and they think that their current photographer is especially good, right? And the reason that's important is, obviously, we're trying to, if they think their current photographer is good, we're gonna have to disrupt that a little bit and show them, hey, your photographer might not be as good as you think they are. Okay, now their real problem, so these are their problems. So their problem is their photographer, so their photographer makes a $4 million listing look $600,000, right? So their photographer is not as good as they think. That's their real problem, okay? So beliefs, real problem. All right, and then we have their dream state down here, okay? They want to increase revenue, increase commissions, and they want to be the go-to realtor in the area for luxury listings. So now that we have kind of our avatar, so they know that high-end photos are important. Their current photographer they believe is really good. They think their current photographer makes $4 million listings look like $600,000, but their dream is to increase commissions and be the go-to realtor in the area. So here's what a bad funnel would look like. Knowing this, typically what I see high-end real estate photographers doing is they will talk about their amazing photo quality. Right? They'll just say, hey, our photos are so good. Look at our portfolio. Look at how amazing we are. And yeah, sure, that might pick up a few leads, but the people who believe this will just ignore it because they already think their photos are really great, right? So then what I see people doing is they'll start talking about the specs of their cameras, that they have their drone license footage, some of the processes on the back end, which again, isn't the thing that they think they're dealing with, right? They think that they're dealing with a current photographer that's really good. They know that high-end photos are important, but their problem is that the $4 million listing looks like $600,000. So at the end of the day, those processes and like their amazing photo quality isn't going to prove that to them. Because typically, knowing this, the question they're asking right now is, why is my $4 million listing not selling, right? That's probably the question they have. They're like, I have a good photographer. I don't know why it's not selling. So what would actually resonate with these people is we need to first talk about, hey, your photographer is really amazing. However, if your listing has been sitting unsold for more than 30 days, despite it being a fantastic listing, here's why. And then we can transition into saying, what we do is we build a brand for you that attracts sellers like crazy, so that way you can increase your commissions and become the go-to realtor in the area because of X, Y, and Z. So we met them where they're at. We said, hey, here's the problem, right? The problem is that you're not showing people like why your listing should sell because it's been sitting for 30 days. And what we do is increase your commissions and be the go-to realtor. So we're connecting with their exact desires, right? And that's why this is so important, because if we get any of these things wrong, right? It doesn't have to be super disconnected, just a little bit disconnected, and it's going to dramatically decrease the conversion rate and the amount of sales that you get from your marketing, because they will immediately assume this isn't for them, right? So the more we know about our client, the more we can say, okay, this is what we need to say in our marketing, so that way they know without a shadow of doubt, this is for them. Alrighty, well, I think that's it for this video. I hope this was super helpful for you. My challenge to you right now is go through your funnel and take a look and see what, do you know what the beliefs are from your prospects? Do you know what their problems that they think they have versus what their actual problem is? Do you know where their dream state is? What is their massive life goal? What is their midterm goal? What is their tiny goal that they're trying to solve, right? And then look at your entire funnel and see, are you effectively get into the life raft, and then are you personalizing the experience for them enough that they believe without a shadow of doubt you are the best possible solution to help them get to their desired state. Awesome. Well, really quick, if you are a company doing over $1 million a year and you want my agency to do this for you and substantially more, obviously I've withheld 95% of everything I can do for your company in this video. Click the link in the description and you can apply to work with us. That's all for now. Bye.